And all right. Okay. Hello. Welcome. Happy Friday. If you're watching on a Friday or whatever day you're watching, happy day. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure to smash and subscribe to that button. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and comment on what you find most helpful during today's Dildo Dilemma, humor in the face of trauma. I want you to imagine being paralyzed by fear, not from the outside world, but from doubt, insecurity, and abandonment living inside of you. That was me from the age of 16 to 22. Then, bam, life sucker punched me, and I became a single mother to a son with a lifelong and at times life-threatening blood disorder called hemophilia B. And I had two choices. I could break down or break through. So I put on the gloves and I started boxing, and punch by punch, fear by fear, I rebuilt myself. And the boxing ring taught me how to absorb life's blows and turn them into positive strength. And boxing gave me the power to protect my son, to walk through the world with confidence, and to be the role model that he needed. And in 2013, I won the Canadian Light Welterweight Golden Gloves Championship. In 2017, I was named Fab Female Health and Wellness Entrepreneur of the Year in Greater Toronto Area. But it wasn't about titles. It was about becoming energetically unstoppable from the inside out. And that's what I love to do now as a motivational speaker and coach. I help women and people over 50 who are borderline diagnosed with chronic degenerative disease or living with chronic degenerative disease reclaim their power through movement, mindset, and boxing. Because specifically with women, when we empower ourselves, we don't just heal, we change the world. And the World Bank says empowering women can add 28 trillion to the global economy. That's not just personal growth, that's impact. And it starts here with stories, with some laughter, with real talk about trauma, healing, and the messy, hilarious parts in between. And that's why I've created Dildo Dilemma Humor in the Face of Trauma podcast, where advocacy meets authenticity. And in case you're wondering why the word dildo, well, because it's near my home in Newfoundland, and in Newfoundland, violence against women statistic is 1 in 2, which is worse than the national average. And because we have interesting streets like with the names of Blow Me Down and the towns of Dildo, and the honorary mayor of Dildo in 2019, Jimmy Kimmel, has never actually set foot here in Newfoundland, but yet still calls himself the mayor of our town of Dildo. So we can call it a real Dildo dilemma. It's time for real leadership, not from the ego, but from empathy. Let's box through the pain, laugh through the chaos, and fight for a future where women everywhere are safe, seen, and empowered. So again, if you're on YouTube, smash that subscribe button. On Facebook, that like. Hit that like. Today's guest is Sandra Cooze. Am I saying that right, Sandra? I hope I sang that right.
Yes, you are.
Okay. And she has a powerful sentence: trauma is not a life sentence, which for her aren't just words. They're a battle cry from a woman who turned her pain into power and her words into wisdom. Sandra is a certified trauma healer, intuitive mentor and coach, Reiki Master, teacher, and published author. Not just an expert, she's walked the walk. After surviving years of deep trauma, which included childhood molestation, bullying, sexual assault, and rape, Sandra didn't just find a way to heal, she created one. And now she helps others do the same. She has a unique trauma healing approach, and she gently guides her clients to release the pain of their past, quiet the triggers of PTSD, and finally feel what true freedom from the inside out is. No fluff, no toxic positivity, just real lasting transformation with ease, grace, and zero shame. So if you're ready to stop surviving and start thriving, it's time to take your journey home to yourself. So if you're ready to reclaim your power, I hope you're tuning in here today and stay connected throughout this podcast as we dive in live with Sandra. So thank you, Sandra, so much for joining me here today live, despite a little bit of technology glitches. It's always the issue. Uh, can you let the viewers and myself know why you said yes to being on this podcast here today?
Well, you asked me.
You never know unless
No,
you
but it's, I've been living in Newfoundland for 3 years. My husband's a Newfie, and we moved back here from Ontario. And I came to Ontario from Germany. So it was a big triangle that got me to Newfoundland. And yeah, I just would love to get more into the community in Newfoundland because the moment I landed here, the first thing I saw, there's so much trauma.
Yeah.
And we need to change that. Newfoundland is so beautiful. Our hearts, our minds should be just as beautiful and not tormented by all the pain and generational issues and, yes, abusive relationships. So I think I wanted to introduce myself to people on the rock in a way.
Well, thank you. And I let I just want to point out a little bit of slang, language and slang at the same time. So when we say Newfie, we mean the people of Newfoundland. Because often that term can get interchanged with the actual term of Newfoundland, like Newfie, but it actually means the people. So I just wanted to let anybody know. So the language here is and slang can be one of its own. So and I like how yeah, I'm curious to say, curious to unravel when you said you've seen there's a lot of trauma here. What what kind of spurred you into understanding and seeing and having that perspective?
Well, for one thing, I see a lot of people who are trying to be someone they're not. And when you're dealing with trauma, you always wear a mask because trauma is keeping you hostage and you're building your life around your trauma because it's not going anywhere until you make it. So as long as you're dealing with trauma, you're not authentically who you are. It's when you set yourself free. That's when you actually discover who the real you is. And so many people here wear masks. I see so many people who there's two different distinct styles here in Newfoundland that I saw. Some who really dress up, long nails, fake lashes, and everything that comes with it. And the others that don't care. They walk around normal, whatever they have to dress in. It's like such a big gap in between. There's nothing in the middle of people who are trying to figure out who they are and try to find their own style. You either wear a mask and trying to be something you're not, or you have given up of ever finding out. So these two things is what I've seen moving here. And it makes my heart hurt because the people here are so beautiful. It's such a loving province. I love how open they are. I mean, in Ontario, you don't talk about yourself. You don't. And I come here and within 5 minutes, I know the whole life story of my neighbor, but you never ask me any question.
Yeah.
So this is something I'm still getting used to, to opening up a little more. But yes, they're such beautiful people. They're so helpful, so kind, and so generous, and yet they're hurting inside and don't even know.
Wow.
And I wish we could make the inside match the outside.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, that's what I mean by this island is traumatized.
Okay. Thank you for your perspective. And I actually had a keynote speech called Dildo Dilemma, Humor in the Face of Trauma. And in that speech, I actually acknowledged to the audience to say that the most important changes that we make when we're pointing or looking out there are the changes that we have to make inside of ourselves. So I thank you for kind of sharing that perspective and understanding. It's hard work to do the internal work to heal. It is, I often say like because I'm a fitness coach as well, right? Boxing fitness, that's one part of the work, but doing the quiet stillness, internal reflection, meditation, whatever that may be, is another part of the quiet work that's just as important. And you talk about that in your three pillars or you touch on it in your three pillars of healing and transformation with your clients, right? Release, reconnect, and realign. So, how did you develop those three pillars?
Well, trauma healing is a journey.
Hmm.
It's not like a one size fits all. We have to figure out what works for us. So when I say release, I mean release the deepest, darkest parts of your trauma to liberate yourself from that, from the abuse, from the PTSD, the panic attacks, from whatever happened. It could be an accident, could be the death of a loved one, could be you were in the military. No matter what, you can release that. What we were taught in school is that the body heals itself. And we know that we have a paper cut, we have a broken bone, bruises, the body takes care of it. But we were not taught that the body is self-healing on all levels.
Nope.
So we were never taught that the body can also heal trauma. With physical issues, we know what to do in order to give the body what it needs. But when it comes to trauma, no one ever told us what to do. They probably don't even know that it's possible. They label it as trauma, and well, like our ancestors taught us, suck it up, you have to live with it. That's just how it is. So releasing means no, the body is self-healing and you can release that. That's what I start working with my clients. It's the release part, release the deepest trauma. Now, what the trauma does to us is it disconnects between body and spirit or body and soul, whichever resonates with you. As we heal, the connection is reformed, which means when you're living with trauma, you feel lost. You feel defeated. You feel like a part of you is missing. But what really is missing is the connection between your body and your soul to be this unit.
Yeah.
As you heal, this connection is reformed, as I said. And this is the second part. This is where I look at limiting beliefs, self-sabotaging behavior, and everything else that has been basically created in our mind, either from childhood through teachings from our parents, from our friends, from society in general, in school, whatever we were taught where we should be, and the limiting beliefs we created because of that. That's the reconnect part, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
And the realign part
Yeah.
is realign yourself with yourself. When you're dealing with trauma, it's like there's two people. Sometimes there's Dr. Jekyll and there's Mr. Hyde
Yeah.
because of the triggers that come up. And triggers, by definition, cannot be controlled because when you shoot a gun and the bullet is gone, you cannot bring it back. It's the same with a trigger. A trigger is an intense emotion that was brought on by something that triggered a memory. And we always think that the person who triggered us is the problem, but it's not. The person who triggered us just brought an emotion up, and this emotion said, well, look, I need to be healed. Come on, we felt like this before. We don't want to feel like this again. That's a trigger. So, but rather than going within and figuring out where the trigger is coming from, we lash out at the person who triggered us. That poor person had no idea what happened. So, and then we have to realign with ourselves. So we have to go inward, release the rest of the triggers, and figure out who we are and who we want to be. And this is the journey I take my clients on. Release the trauma, reconnect body and soul, and realign with who you truly are.
That's powerful, powerful work. Uh, and I know each person is individual and they each have
Yes.
their different journeys. But do you find is there certain patterns because you work with both men and women with PTSD? Do you find that there's certain patterns that kind of people go through on that journey? to get to, I mean, get to where it is to heal on a deep level?
Yes, there are certain patterns that are the same. Now, working with men, yes, I'm most definitely open and I have tried, but they don't like me very much because I don't sugarcoat things. I tell them like it is, and if you're not used to tapping into your emotions,
Yeah.
you don't like that. So you have to be a very mature man to be open to what I'm working with. Just putting this out there. I've tried. I honestly did.
I call that tough love.
Yes, pretty much. So yes, I work primarily with women because they seem to enjoy this tough love that I'm giving them. Because my clients know that I am direct and I tell them like it is, but it's all coming from a place of love because I know what they are capable of. I know what where they can get to because I've been there and I've reached that level that I can get them to.
Mhm. You're that guide, um, walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Um,
Yes.
it's very comforting when you're leading from that place, and it feels like a deep sense of trust when you're working with a coach, a mentor, a guide that's like that. So that's very powerful, powerful work. Um, would you say that your clients have to keep kind of revisiting the pillars to heal, or is there like do you find that there's a bit of recidivism, we say recidivism rate, even though recidivism means more like reinstitutionalize, but just like lapsing back and then having to go through the process again?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Well, once we've released the deep trauma, it's gone. It doesn't come back.
Yeah.
That's the release part. That's where we really take the trauma, pull it out, and then it doesn't come back. The triggers don't come back. But as we grow, we release our limiting beliefs, our self-sabotaging behavior only to the limit we need for the level we're at. So, and then when we're outgrowing the level we're at, we're hitting this glass ceiling. And then those same limiting beliefs, the same self-sabotaging behavior is there again. And we have to chip away at it again to get to the next level. I have to do the same thing whenever I'm growing and it gets intimidating and I feel like, oh my God, I'm swirling. I can't do this, like public speaking, for example, for me right now. Then I have to push through that. It's like you're stretching your comfort zone. And every time I chip away at those limiting beliefs. Now, if there is a purpose for that, because if we release those limiting beliefs and self-sabotage and everything all at once, we would be so overwhelmed with everything that is possible that we would close up. So there is a reason why we're slowly chipping away at those beliefs. It's at our own pace. And it's important that we do that because we gradually need to grow into the next level of our being. It's our own evolution. And you cannot fast track evolution. You only get chaos if you do that. And it's the same with your personal evolution. So, yes, you do revisit the release, reconnect, realign, but not as intense as the first time. Every time it's getting easier. And with every glass ceiling you break through, the next one is less intimidating because you already know, oh, I'm here again. All right, let's do this because I'm excited that I'm going to go into the next level where I can grow even more.
Yeah. That's a really, really amazing analogy, and I like how you kind of you tie it into evolution too, because I'm a very spiritual person, and religion never really sat well with me at all. But
Join
spiritually,
the club.
yes, it's apparently we are going through a major evolution of humanity in that right now, and there's a lot of fear with change that's happening. You know, one example being AI. Like a lot of conversations we seem to have lately with a lot of people who are not kind of so much in the business world per se. They're very fearful of what AI may be. But I think it's just a part of our evolution and changing of us to evolve and adapt. And you mentioned the glass ceiling. Uh, That's very, very interesting. So what makes you say the glass ceiling? I'm just curious.
Well, glass can be shattered
Okay.
and then you can push through. Whereas if you have like a concrete wall, it's a little harder, or a concrete ceiling to get through. You have to hammer away at it much more than smash a glass ceiling. I mean, how or when you smash a glass ceiling is up to you. You can be feeling like you're in limbo, like a headless chicken walking around, nothing makes sense. You want to push forward but are afraid and you pull back at the same time, feeling lost. Or you just say, okay, I've had enough, and you just push through and see what's on the other side. The glass ceiling is broken pretty quickly.
Yeah. That's a really great, great analogy explanation. And you also mentioned about comfort zones. And
Yes.
so uh getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, it's been a mantra of mine for a number of years. Uh is important, like, is that something that you discuss with when people come in and you start that healing process and journey with them, to say that you're going to feel uncomfortable a lot and it's normal? Like, is that kind of that elephant in the room that you get out of the way?
Yes, I do. I don't quite put it that nicely. I'm more direct,
Okay.
but yes,
Okay.
yes, because it's my job to trigger people.
Ah,
And then it's my job to help them through it and release it. All in the same session, I should say. I'm not going to wait a week until we take care of that trigger that is now lingering in your head and is driving you nuts. No, I trigger you, well, depending on what's coming up, and then we deal with it.
okay. Uh, that sounds very intense. So, but you want to get to
It
the root.
can be,
Yeah.
but afterwards, how my clients feel, the lightness, the freedom, that is what makes it all worth it. And we have to deal with the triggers, otherwise we can't release the trauma.
Yeah. And I put that here in the link for anyone who's watching, that you do have a 3-part mini series to help people release triggers, that they can click on there in the link and see and experience what releasing those triggers are like, and
Yes.
it's very, very interesting that you say triggers. So would you be able to give an example of what that could feel like or look like for someone?
Okay, would you like me to go with the PTSD trigger, or would you like me to go with a more gentle one?
Let's do gentle. It is Friday
Okay,
after all. It is Friday. I
all right.
spent the hard work
Well,
at the beginning of the week.
when I do trauma healing with people, I have a modality that I use called traumatic incident reduction. It's the most amazing modality no one has ever heard of. It was created around the same time as EMDR. EMDR got all the funding, TIR didn't, which is why it's so unknown. But it's a beautiful modality that was specifically designed for deep trauma and PTSD. So that's what I'm using. And it is based on questions. So questions that I ask repeatedly until my clients say, well, nothing else comes up. So whatever pops up in their minds comes up. And that is the trigger, a mini trigger. Now, depending on what we're working on, clients can either feel a little anxious, antsy. When a trigger, an emotion is coming up, they can feel that. So they get it's a little unnerving because you have been suppressing your triggers for so long. And now we are purposefully bringing them up. Gently, I must add, but they come up. One client that I worked with, whenever a trigger came up, she was constantly throwing up.
Oh, wow.
That's how her body was releasing. As soon as the trigger was released, she stopped throwing up and she felt so much better. Not just physically from the vomiting, but also emotionally. Others, again, they feel they get like their throat closes up, like they can't breathe. And others, again, they have enormous pain where the energy of the trigger is sitting. and then they buckle over and feel they can breathe and everything hurts. And but these are intense. These are just the intense things that can happen. Usually, depending on what the trigger was, people may start crying as they're releasing the trigger, or they may start shaking and sweating, and some get a headache. So it's really everybody's different. But the moment the trigger is released, all that is gone. And there's just peace and balance, and you just feel at the very least neutral.
Mhm.
Some people describe it as numb. If it was a very intense trigger and say, I feel numb, I was like, good. That's how I feel every day because numb just means there's no emotional roller coaster.
Yeah,
Numb feels balance. And when you're used to the emotional roller coaster each and every day, you don't know what it feels like to be just in the moment, not thinking, not feeling, nothing. And they describe it as numb.
that's really, really interesting that you point that kind of feeling out. And so essentially, if a person has released their triggers and let it go and they're feeling numb, this is kind of a healthy normal, is what I'm hearing you say.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
And I really, because I believe like through all the reading and metaphysical and both journal, and my mom said this because my mom was a nurse growing up, she would always be like, her patients, the ones that didn't heal, often were like emotionally unregulated. She could say it's psychosomatic. Those that would heal had a good grasp of psychosomatic, which means like mental health in terms of helping themselves heal and working in mental health and seeing like clients as well who are on a more spiritual, emotional, naturopathic kind of journey, they are more likely to heal on a deeper level because I think a lot of people don't realize emotionally wise, which often like when you're dealing with trauma and the triggers, we carry that emotionally and physically. So I really appreciate you sharing the actual physical symptoms that people are releasing as they're releasing their triggers, because I don't think a lot of people really fully realize how physically and emotionally it's connected that can lead to disease and health issues in our life. So understanding the more how much more emotionally healthy we are, the more that we're going to help heal and be like, I want to say thriving in our lives, because I really believe that that is possible. But you got to go through the discomfort, physical aspects like you're explaining to be able to get there. So thank you so much for sharing those different experiences that your clients have gone through. So you
But
said,
there's something that you're missing. It's
okay.
not just the physical and mental, emotional, it's also the energetic.
Hmm.
We also have an energy body, and it's incredible how much energy is being accumulated when you're dealing with trauma. That's the third part that I'm focusing on in my trauma healing approach, the energy. So whenever we're dealing with a deep trigger, I let my clients talk through it while I pull out the energy that comes up with that trigger. And that really brings the most amazing results.
So that is encompassing that your Reiki training in with it.
Yes.
That's very, very powerful.
Thank
Very.
you.
Um, and so when we say, I just want to help everybody kind of understand who's watching, because I don't think everybody, I always say it all the time, everything is energy, different levels of energy. Can you give an example of the different levels of energy that you work with and how you help like either raise energy or release and let go of the negative energy?
Okay, how much time do we have?
Well, I have a
That's a
competition
big
to help
subject.
prepare for today, but if we can like as best as you can over the next few minutes here, what works, what feels resonates with you to share.
All right. So what we need to understand is that we have a physical, mental, emotional, and energetic body. And by now, even scientists can measure that. So there is proof out there if you want to look. It has been proven. So when we are, let's say, for example, you feel anxious.
Mhm.
So really anxious. It's all up here. You breathe shallow and you're going around in circles and yeah, it just feels very uncomfortable. Now, I only had like one anxiety attack once in my life, so I can't really go deep into how you're feeling. So I apologize for that, but I see it in my clients. So there's two things to that. First of all, the energy is all up here, which means our chakra system is not working right. Because if we were grounded, if our root chakra were working, we wouldn't be anxious. We wouldn't have a panic attack if we were grounded. You can't have one or the other, which means focus on the chakras. Then you pull out the energy that is building up here from the anxiety so that the person can breathe. And as the person starts to breathe, I help them to breathe deeper into their stomach because if you breathe all the way into your stomach, you're actually grounding yourself. Those calm, very deep breaths. That helps you to calm down while I move the energy that is accumulating out of the body to make room. Because when we feel tight here, it's not that there is something, it's just energy. And that I'm pulling out to give the body the freedom to breathe and relax. So it's not about what put us into a panic attack, it's the energy that's accumulating. So and as we pull this out, it's fine. I do this a lot when my clients have a PTSD attack right in front of me. They're breathing through it, they're telling me what they see. I pull out the energy, and it takes 5 to 10 minutes, and they're completely calm just from removing the energy. So there's a lot of energy coming up with every trigger. There was a lot of energy that was suppressed within us when we were traumatized. And all those triggers that we have and the memories, the flashbacks, they add to that energy that's already in the body. So as one of these triggers is coming up, the whole onslaught of energy is coming up with it. That's where the vomiting is coming from, the not being able to breathe, the heart flutters, the pain. That's where all of it's coming from. It's all energy. And when I pull this out while I work with my clients, they move through a trigger much faster than I normally would, simply because I add all three aspects of trauma healing to the mix.
That's powerful. That's very, very powerful. Thank you for sharing and giving a very relatable because we've all been there with in terms of not feeling emotionally well and moving that energy. And for myself, that boxing was that healing, that
Mhm.
modality for me to help move through it. And you do that in the moment, helping the person move their energy and release and let it go.
Yes.
Your own journey has been filled with many obstacles. And do you feel like there's one lesson that stands out for you, uh, that has taught you more than another?
Yeah, I think there was. I'm sure there was. So, yes, definitely. I mean, you already listed up the basics of what happened. We don't have to go into detail about that. But when, after everything happened in my early 20s, I went to see a psychologist because I didn't like who I had become and I wanted to heal. And I talked to him through our intake session. And after that, he simply said, I believe you already worked through it all. What am I supposed to do? So that psychologist was not trauma informed. Just because I wasn't bawling my eyes out, I could tell what was happening doesn't mean I had healed. It just meant I kept my emotions suppressed enough to talk about it. Because healing and being able to talk about it are two completely different things.
Yes.
So that's when I learned that, well, mental health professionals are not always the best to go to for what you need. Because we're all individuals with individual journeys, individual stories, individual needs, individual interests. So your healing journey has to match your interests. You can heal trauma with yoga. You can heal trauma with Tai Chi. You can heal trauma with tapping. or other modalities that have already been out there for I don't know how many years, but you have to find your own. For me, that was both spiritual and the journey of self-reflection. And both journeys were introduced to me by two different people, completely unaware of what they were doing for me. The first one was a friend of mine from way back when I was still in Germany. He was very spiritual, knew what Reiki was and everything. And at that time, I had no clue. So one day he came and visited me and he saw me sitting on the couch like a heap of misery. And he looked at me with a stern face, hands on his hips, raised his hand theatrically and said, "Get a quartz crystal already." And I had no idea what he meant. I was like, "What?" But I did as he asked, and it actually helped because the quartz crystal is called a poor man's diamond, since its healing abilities are weighing the same as the monetary value of a clear-cut diamond. It's that powerful. So it helped to release a lot of energy that needed to go. And it guided energy back in. I could feel this in my arm, how something was being pulled out and something was being pushed in. I could feel that. And I started to feel better. I was more outgoing. I felt more balanced. I wasn't healed by any means, but it was the beginning of my healing journey in my introduction to spirituality. Then the other part was my last ex-boyfriend before I met my husband. I was dating him for the usual 2 months. I mean, if you would think about the movie How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, that was me with each and every relationship I had. So, yes,
You
to
were
the
like,
T. I was
I'm
like, uh-huh, I did that, I did that.
not
Yes. But when he broke up with me, he said that he was married to a woman with mental issues. He didn't want to be dating one. He didn't say this mean. It was just a fact that he stated very calmly and collected. And I'm so grateful that he said that because after he left, I actually sat down and was thinking about what I was doing in relationships. And the more I looked, the more I started to see a pattern of what I was doing. And I wasn't punishing myself, I wasn't upset with myself. I started to understand something. And then I decided, well, I'm not going to have another relationship until I am the woman I want to be in a relationship. So I want to heal my stuff before I meet someone else. I guess I must have done something right because 3 months later I met my husband. And that's now 25 years ago.
Oh, that's a beautiful story. With a
Thank
little,
you. But it taught me a lot.
yeah.
It taught me that healing comes from within. Healing comes from looking at what's broken. Oh, not broken, I always said temporarily misaligned,
Yeah.
but yeah, something that is not fitting. So, which means every trigger is not coming up to haunt us. It's not coming up to torment us. A trigger is a guiding light to what needs healing, which means when a trigger comes up, your body is saying, hey, there's something that we need to pay attention to. Because if you didn't need anything to heal, there wouldn't be a trigger coming up. So really the trigger is showing you there's something we need to heal. And if we can see a trigger as that, the guiding light that helps us healing, then our healing journey becomes less intimidating. Trauma becomes something we're not afraid of. Trauma is something that we're saying, all right, bring it on, let's get rid of it.
Yeah. And again, I think it comes back to understanding that discomfort of those triggers are just, like you said, a guide to help you understand that it's something to uh, reflect, look at, and heal from. So,
Exactly.
so thank you for sharing such a very kind of I don't want to say up and down journey, but everything kind of happens for a reason. And it sounds like you really kind of look back on these different reasons and these different kind of pivotal points to help guide you. And
Mm-hmm.
I can definitely relate to that in my life, right? Because you have a choice. You can look at it, be like, oh, these things are not, these are horrible things that have occurred, or you can look at it I have a choice to do the work and heal from it and move forwards, and help others to guide them through to that light, and happier place in life. So do you feel that both personally and professionally that our society needs to have help to solve the problems of abuse and trauma, like based on your experiences, both personally and professionally? What would you say that our society needs to help solve the problem of abuse and trauma? I mean, I know this is a very layered question, but just from your perspective, both personally and professionally, would you be able to give that perspective?
Yeah, most definitely. I mean, in my own life, I learned when I became a mother that I was traumatized from the generations before me, how to raise a child and how we think it should be, like how we try to force them into a mold that we think is the right one. And it doesn't work like that. So, for one, when you think about it, we all were raised through trauma. The generations before us, all of them, raised us with their wise words, which all came from trauma, like you make your bed and you lay in it. I love this when my clients bring that on. You make your bed and you lay in it. That's it. I was like, right, but you can always wash the sheets. So you can always change something. Or, like I was growing up with self-pride stinks. I was not allowed to be proud of myself.
Mm,
So, which means let's say I had an A in biology and I was so excited and I wanted to tell everybody and I felt proud at the same time I felt icky and guilty.
yeah.
So I basically had to tell other people of what grade I have and ask, are you proud of me? Because I was not allowed to be proud of myself now. That was really limiting me because whatever I did, I was never allowed to be proud of my accomplishments.
Mhm.
I'm a two-time gold medalist in dance. I was never allowed to be proud of that. For example, these are accomplishments that should be incredible. Well, it is what it is. We won. Great. Move on to the next. That's how it was. And then with my son, I was like, no, I'm not going to teach him the same thing. I'm not going to give him the silent treatment when he upsets me like my mother did because she didn't know any better. No, I'm going to change that. And so society can do so much good. Parents these days of young children, if they would heal their own traumas and limiting beliefs and their ancestral trauma and all those wise words that we're brought up with, they would raise their children empowered.
Yes.
It takes just as much effort to raise a child through trauma or to raise it empowered. But a child we raise empowered is empowering the next generation and the next and the next and the next. And before we know it, trauma is eradicated because trauma creates trauma and empowerment creates empowerment.
Exactly.
So, and if we could, as professionals, advocate for that, how important and how rewarding it is for the whole world that one person heals their trauma, what kind of an effect it has
Yeah.
on the next generations. I
It's a
mean,
it's a rippling effect when we do our own,
yes,
pass that on to those that are looking up to us first and foremost, which is our children, right? And those are they that is the way of that's the way forward is through our own work, and the way that we're going to heal this world is not out there, but in here, what's inside of us, closest to us, and the way that we're role modeling, and leading, and teaching our own family and children, which is so, so important, both physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Oh, that's that ripple effect. That's the root cause,
yes,
right?
yes.
Yeah,
And we
yeah,
can eradicate that, but we have to want it.
yes, yeah. So and I'm going to bring it back to the reflection that you brought up a few times, because that's the quiet work. right? Like we can't reflect. We're not able to reflect and we're not able to see unless we can sit quietly with ourselves and do the internal work, which is really, really, it's the soft, powerful stuff.
Well, I wouldn't call it soft, but yes, it
Okay.
is. It is the quiet reflection and understanding a trigger. That's why my 3 video series is so important. I wouldn't use that on a PTSD trigger, but the little ones, like, okay, why do I feel like this right now? Why did this conversation just upset me?
Yeah.
Things like that. That's what you can work on. And this will have a powerful, again, ripple effect because as you look at it, you will see images come up where you felt like this before and what the story was. And at some point, you get to the root, the first one where it ever happened, and it clicks, and you say, oh, that's why. And then trigger starts to fizzle out because you understand why you felt like this. And you can look at it and let it go.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's very quiet, yes, but
Wouldn't say soft,
it's like
just
fireworks as soon as it makes sense. So, yes, it's quiet but powerful.
yeah. Thank you. So what 3 simple tips would you be able to let those that are watching to help them deal with trauma to be able to begin that healing journey?
I would suggest to read my book
Yes.
because it gives you so many great tips on how to deal with trauma. I have like exercises, room for notes, but I always also explain the aspects of trauma in a very easy to understand way that you can incorporate into your life. So I talk about the different aspects of it, like addictions and belief systems. I talk about the chakras and energy and grounding. So you have things you can try and work with. But aside from that, the 3 tips, never give up.
Mm.
It's so worth it. You will have setbacks. I call it the healing walls. Healing is always 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Mhm.
And that's normal because the 2 steps forward are the exciting part, the freedom that you get. But then what you are releasing has to be fully released. In my book, I call it the emotional hangover because
Mm.
everything that was attached to this trigger that you released has to come up and be released as well. So let's say a couple days after you release the major trigger, you suddenly feel like crap. But this is coming from the inside out. So that's the step back in this healing waltz, as I call it. So be patient with yourself. If you move forward and you're feeling great and suddenly you get re-triggered by something, it's okay. It's part of it. The body is cleaning house. Let it. Don't be upset with yourself. Don't punish yourself. That's counterintuitive because you cannot have a child grow and thrive when you punish it all the time.
Mhm.
It's the same with yourself. You cannot expect your body to do what you want and heal when you're, yeah, scolding it for doing just that in the only way it can. And sometimes that needs going back a step or two to get even the last bit that needs to go. And the third is self-love.
Mm.
The one thing that we all need in order to be able to heal is self-love. Love and beauty, courage, they all come from in here. They're all already there, but they're buried underneath all the trauma and the limiting beliefs and everything else. The more you heal, the more your self-love comes up.
Mm.
And you need self-love in order to heal, otherwise it's not working. So love yourself as fiercely and as unconditionally as you possibly can.
Amen. So love is always the answer. Love is always the answer.
Yes,
And there is a big difference and curve with self-love and positive awareness and healing compared to feelings of guilt and shame. And that's again that energy field, completely different, completely different.
yes.
So that's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for sharing so much knowledge and so much wisdom, and real world application and experience, Sandra. It's been an absolute pleasure talking with you. I've gone way over time. Normally, I try to keep it. Um, but your knowledge and your experience and your journey and the way that you have put it together to show us that it is each of our healing journeys is an individual journey. There's no
Mhm.
cookie cutter way to fit in. And
Yeah.
I love that you've really highlighted that, because it's so, so important. And that's something I've learned as well as coaching in the fitness arena. I work on not just the physical aspect, but the psychological aspect and emotional aspect too. There isn't just one specific way to reach where you want to go. So if people want to reach out and get your book and contact you, besides signing up for that free 3-part mini course, where can they contact and get a hold of you?
Well, basically, if you're living on the rock or visiting in the next week, you can see me at the Holistic Healing Fair on the 20th of July, which is at the Capitol Hotel. I will
Ah,
be a vendor there and you can get a signed copy.
okay. I'm gonna come. All
And
right.
otherwise, you can visit my website, riseaboveyourstory.com. You can book a free consultation where we can meet and answer all your questions, and you can see if you resonate with me, because there's nothing more important than you feeling safe in working through your trauma because you know the other person's holding the space for you.
Yeah, that's very, very
Other than
important.
that, you can find me on Facebook under Rise Above Your Story. You can find me on YouTube under Sandra Cooze Unfiltered. And my book is on Amazon and can be ordered through Ingram bookstores.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sandra. And again, anyone who's watching this, please let us know what you found most helpful here today, and like and smash that subscribe channel on YouTube. Okay. Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone, and a beautiful weekend if you're watching this close to the weekend. And thank you again, Sandra, for your time and expertise. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a wonderful conversation.
Bye, guys. Oh, my thing's not working. Why is my desktop not working? This is just, I manifested this right now because I said the technology is not working for me. And this is energy 101 right now, everyone who's watching this. Because my mouse does not want to work. All right, let's try this again.
I hope I recorded the session. I'll never have to do it again.
Oh my goodness. It says we're streaming. Okay, let me try it this way. All right, I'm going to try it manually. Thank you, everyone. Have an amazing rest of your day. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Literally, my mouse does not want to work. Well, if you want to log off on your end, Sandra, so we're not work,
I
then I'm
can, sure,
sorry
not a
for
problem.
the technology glitch, everyone. Holy camole. Oh my goodness. Let's try this.
Well, you did say you felt like this episode's going to be smashing. I mean,
Oh my goodness. Yo, I don't know what is happening. My mouse is moving, but it's not working. That is the weirdest thing ever. I've never had this happen in my life. Okay.
all right, I'm going to go and let you figure this out. Good luck. If we have to reschedule or redo it, then just let me know.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm pretty sure it says live streaming. It's just I can't literally whatchamacallit. Not like it doesn't want to connect. There. Okay. Got it. Yay! Yay! Happy, everybody, minus the technology issues.